It's 8:15 Eastern time. Well, I guess actually, no, it's not. It's 8:30 Eastern time, the only time zone that is not training for a turkey trot. That means it's time for C2C Live, brought to you by CampusCanton.com. That's Matt Bruening, that's Chris K, and I'm Austin Nace. On an improvised version of tonight's show, we talk some more about the playoffs and some players that we're excited for in 2026, plus James Franklin finally signed on the dotted line with Virginia Tech. All that and more right after the stinger. I thought people. I read the cue card. I'm Ron Burgundy. You can't put 8:15 on here and not expect me to read that. So whoever did that, we'll get to the bottom of that.
We don't ever start at 8:15.
It says 8:15 on here.
In fairness to Chris K was in here at 8:15. I'm pretty sure. I jumped at like 8:20 and he was in there.
Yeah, I was
listening to something as I was working on graphics. So Chris was on time.
He was hyping himself up. Listen to a little, Eminem or something. Dun, 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 dun. That's how he gets ready for the show.
Yeah, so not my jam, but something like that.
What gets you hyped? What did you listen to back in school? You played baseball. What was your walk-up song?
I actually had this conversation recently.
My high school walk-up song was Nelly, Here Comes the Boom. You know that one?
Yeah, of course.
Jam.
Very nice.
The one right there.
It's classic. Yeah, nice. Yeah.
Austin, what would your walk-up song have been? I know you didn't have one.
Oh man, I have no idea. I'd have to think about that.
You look like a rocker though. Like you would pick like Foo Fighters or something.
Like high school me? Yeah, I didn't listen to a lot of rap music in high school. I would have been probably on the rock side of things. Yeah.
What about you, Matt?
I will not say. I was roasted for my choice recently. I had this conversation with my girlfriend. It's a very interesting choice. I would have. I don't know if either. Chris, you might have heard it, but we're closer in age than. You ever heard that song, Gasolina? You're younger than me.
Yeah. I would have walked up to that.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. I love it. Love that song. What's wrong with that
song?
That's
not like Danzo Kudrow. You know that one?
Yeah.
I don't.
That's another jam, Hispanic jam.
Is Gasolina that old?
That was my high school time. That
was definitely high school. Yeah.
That was a good 20 years ago, Austin. So
well,
I mean, it's kind of old,
apparently. So I'm so much younger than you guys. I was around back in the day.
You're not. I'm trying to help you out. You're not old. You're young.
Yeah,
you're still
you get the baby face.
Closer to You're still closer to 30 than 40.
Yeah, you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm getting a little gray in here. I've been a little, self-conscious. So thank you for luckily I'm blonde. Should we talk about football?
No, this is so much more entertaining.
This is way better, yeah. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a rate and review. Whatever you guys do for us, go ahead and do that. We always appreciate it. Head on over to Home Field Apparel. Christmas is coming up. Get yourself a Christmas gift. Get a loved one a Christmas gift. Use our promo code Campus2Canton. Get you 15% off over there. And promo code C2C over an Underdog. We're still cranking out. I swept my plays again this week. I can't speak for you guys on the tailgate, but
Ty Simpson.
Me, so
what were your plays? I'm curious.
Mine?
Yeah, I didn't see.
Was Lagway passing yard unders, which I guess apparently was gone the morning of.
I
picked it like at 11 p.m. the night before, so it was gone. But he did hit. Nate Frazier rushing yard under, and Ahmad Hardy rushing yard over. That
got there
that
a
one,
little bit.
That one up, so felt good about that one.
Nice, those are good ones. 2 unders.
I go unders every week. I'm the
unders are where it's at.
Yeah. Big fan of the unders. Speaking of the big fan of the unders, Franklin to Virginia Tech. I mean, it feels like an under waiting to happen here on some win totals. James Franklin going to Virginia Tech. I think this was kind of one that people said made some sense staying on the East Coast. Penn State had recruited Virginia fairly heavily in terms of, the top end talent that does come out of there. And Virginia Tech, as we had talked about many weeks ago, they just committed a bunch more cash apparently to the football team. What's that allocation look like? We don't know, but they've promised them a bunch more money. So James Franklin is headed over there. I mean, Chris, this is kind of your squad, so I would just toss it to you. I mean, this feels like probably the best hire they could have made this cycle, right? Unless you just sign some no name that ends up being awesome.
Yeah, this was like the non-sexy, very good hire. Like, I mean, we're probably like the 4th, 5th best opening And so securing a guy like Franklin feels like such a big win, because if you didn't, like, where are you going next? Another riskier option. I think at the very least, Franklin's going to give us some consistency, bring back the recruiting in Virginia. Like you said, like, he always was tearing apart Virginia high school recruiting when it came to that. So he's already making a mark on, I mean, our recruiting class is like bottom 30 in the country or something crazy. So it already feels like he's going to help turn that around, just from getting different players that have said they want to take officials and things like that, crystal balls, things like that. So it's about as good as it gets. The one knock on him, and that I always made fun of him for, like 3 months ago, was that he can't win a big game. Not a lot of big games in the ACC, so he found the right fit. So yeah, I think this is about as good as it gets, and I think every Hokie fan, maybe a month ago, was not as hot on him, but realized pretty quickly that, like, this is the best we're going to get, and it creates a pretty good floor for us.
Yeah, I agree with Chris. I think it's a phenomenal hire for Virginia Tech. I mean, look, as much as I've probably talked, I don't want to say poorly about James Franklin, probably over the past month and a half, as we've talked a lot about this Penn State stuff, and me talking about, I thought Penn State, shouldn't just settle for being top 3 in the Big Ten. The one thing I think you can say about James Franklin is he built Vanderbilt up to a team that, we have not seen until probably this year of being that good, consistently winning 8 games at Vanderbilt, got him the job at Penn State, pulled them out of, I think Bill O'Brien was fine for Penn State. I can't remember how good he was. I know he won a couple.
He righted the ship. I mean,
yeah.
I
mean, Bill O'Brien came in there and helped Penn State get out of the, basement of the NCAA after the kind of, I forgot what the death penalty they got hit with all the Sandusky stuff. And then, I mean, Franklin came in there and raised it, right? Like, he raised the bar to what it is now. And again, it's not a bad thing. And I think that he can do the same thing for Virginia Tech. I mean, Chris just said it. There's not many big games in the ACC. I actually think what might work in Franklin's favor is, who are the 2 best teams in the ACC right now? Miami and Clemson, probably.
Best programs, probably.
You know what both those coaches do? Play football like it's the 1950s, just like James Franklin. So I don't know that he really has to worry that much about getting blitzed by these high-end offenses like Ohio State and Oregon. Like, I think he fits right in with what this is. And again, I think because of what I do respect James Franklin as a program builder. I really do think that he's going to be able to return Virginia Tech toward the top of the ACC. Do think he's a good recruiter. Again, my argument's been he's not necessarily capitalized on the talent that he's recruited at Penn State, but he's gotten a lot of guys there, specifically defense. I mean, Austin, you corrected me when we talked about it. They've put a lot of defensive guys into the NFL. Offense, they've gotten a lot of those high end, like, they've gotten some decent 4-stars. I'm pretty sure Alar was a 5-star. Just haven't been able to capitalize on that talent. So I think it's a great hire for Virginia Tech. I think Franklin's going to do great things there. And I'm not saying that Virginia Tech's going to win a national championship, but, like, I would not be surprised if Virginia Tech's in the playoffs in the next couple of years under Franklin, because of, again, I just think the way he wants to coach and everything and the way he recruits fits well with going to the ACC.
I think Franklin is a classic does better when the expectations aren't the ceiling expectations. I don't know that he's a good enough coach without just like a bunch of random lucky stuff happening on any given year to make that next step, as you were talking about there, Matt. He never got Penn State over that hump. They were kind of almost content with being, maybe the 3rd, 4th best program in the Big Ten there, with the Oregon coming in there, USC, we'll see what they build here over the next couple of years. So I think a school like Virginia Tech made a lot more sense to me than maybe a school that would have had, and like, I'm not saying like higher expectations for him. What are Virginia Tech's higher expectations as a program? Obviously they're spending some money on this, so the expectations have been raised, but I mean, I think they would probably expect on most years moving forward here to finish as like a top 4 or 5 team in the ACC and be able to push for that ACC championship every 2nd or 3rd year. Feels like appropriate. And then obviously, can edit those based on how things change over the next couple of years. I think this is the perfect kind of spot for him. And I just think I've seen some people say, Virginia Tech is not some like amazing program. Like, this is probably a better hire than if I was a Virginia Tech fan, I would have necessarily expected us to be able to get. Virginia Tech without Frank Beamer is like a 57% win percentage program and had been ranked in the AP poll twice ever before he got there. I know
a little skewed because he was there like 25 years and
25 years, but I mean,
before that they were in like the A10 and stuff like that. So a little bit different. I mean, we were Big East for a while and stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely, we're not the program. I mean, Beamer made the program,
exactly,
and elevated it, and he left and crap hit the fan, except for like 1 year with Fuente, right? So you're not wrong. I mean, the thing is, right, like if we didn't get Franklin, who would we have gotten? Like you kind of mentioned, it's a huge gap.
The JMU coach, or I mean, you stay local at that point, right? The ODU's coach. I mean, they've beaten him enough times in the past couple of years. You do that, or I mean.
But like, if you're, I like Chesney, and Chesney would have definitely been the guy I would have gone for. But I'm not necessarily sure Chesney would have landed with us. I think a lot of people like Chesney, and by the end of the year, if they make the playoff and continue to look very good, like, is VT kind of like a selling situation for him? And then if we hired the ODU coach, no offense to Justice, like that is just criminal. That's a huge gap in what we're looking at here from Franklin to that. Not that he's not a good coach, but like you can't do that. So
I think sometimes we overestimate the value of some of these programs because of a coach that's been associated with them for so long.
Yeah, I mean, VT's existence was certainly 95% known because of Beamer. Large part of time, but at the same time too, like it's not like we've done anything before or after.
I mean, are they essentially kind of like them and Kansas State always strike me as very similar programs. K-State basically had
Bill Snyder
there for years, and like he was the program. Like it strikes me as one of those kind of jobs. I think this is the best possible hire they could have done. And I'm not saying it's a bad, like it's a good hire for a school of their stature. And I think he fits with their underdog-ish perception in terms of they're not a front-running, high-end type of program that needs somebody to come in and lock in and do that. Because I don't think that's the kind of coach that James Franklin is.
Yeah, we're all happy. We're not going to be getting upset. Yeah. The schedule, I mean, just like looking at future schedules, it's basically you just play Miami every year. Every random year, you get Clemson, you get Louisville, like at SMU, like that type of thing. But otherwise, like those aren't games that are super intimidating.
I think the Cover 3 guys said they only get like 2 of the big ACC 5 next year. I think there was like no SMU, they had like Clemson and Miami or something like that, but they didn't have the other 3.
Yeah, it's Georgia Tech, it's Pitt, NC State, Miami, and at Clemson, at Miami. Those are the 2 big ones. But like we avoid Louisville, SMU, like so it's naturally always going to give you a pretty decent schedule. You're just always going to have something. And then non-con is VMI, ODU, Maryland, and JMU. Like I'm not sure what we do next year because it's going to be a brand new team because Drones is gone and the running backs are gone. Like there's a lot of things that are going to be changing, but I'm really curious to see what they do from like a coordinator standpoint. They really botched it last year with the coordinator situation. So,
well, people were honestly like, I saw a rumor that that Franklin might want Pry.
They're very close. They were with each other forever. And the thing is, we don't hate Pry. We just think he was the wrong option for like where we're at in the time period. And he did a lot of things very good. And he brought a lot of things back positively, like bringing back, high school recruiting in the state of Virginia because Fuente just completely ignored it. So I think I'd have no issue if you wanted to be a coordinator. He just never needs to touch any sort of game management piece of the thing at all.
The other interesting piece is just going to be real quick. I was going to ask you, Matt, because Chris kind of said, their recruiting class next year is not strong.
Yeah,
I don't think there's enough floating around out there. Even from like the decommitted Penn State guys, a lot of them have already found homes and or are pretty close to locking in somewhere else. I don't know that you bring in a lot of those guys. Franklin's not been a big portal guy. They might have to hit the portal. That whole roster is going to be very interesting to see how it gets put together this coming year.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's going to be a big portal year for them next year. The one thing I think will help out Franklin is, again, he does have some ties to the Penn State area or the Pittsburgh area as well, obviously with being there in Penn State, right? Or Pennsylvania, which I believe next year, if I'm remembering from some of the other like recruiting stuff, next year's class is supposed to be like ridiculous. The high schoolers that are there right now. So I wonder if he'd be able to steal a couple of those guys away from Penn State. We've already talked about how well he recruits the area of Virginia. I would think that it's going to take him a year or so to kind of turn around Virginia Tech's recruiting class. I don't expect him to be able to do it this year because I don't believe is he technically, I guess, already at the job? Like, is he already able to recruit and everything for Virginia Tech? I would assume he can, right?
I think it's a dead period right now anyway, isn't it?
Okay.
No, I think the only thing that can happen is I think it opens the portal up for kids, which
so they can transfer out. Yeah. So
I would expect. Have you guys heard of this? Have you heard of this Mission Hills quarterback, Troy Hun?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He
is
11 kids. We're not big fans.
You're not. I have no idea who he is. So
honestly, though, a school like this all just like a school like Virginia Tech. I think a school like Virginia Tech would be cool. Penn State was too big of a spot for him, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Virginia Tech may be a cooler landing spot, but also not a guy that I want to roll out there as a true freshman either. I don't know what the backup situation is there, but
I'm more curious because that was the first name that like flipped.
Well, it'd be interesting too because there's a couple of kids in Eastern PA that one was committed to Auburn and one one's committed to Missouri. If something happens to Drink, like, you know, maybe you dip in over there on Eastern PA and see if you can snag some of those guys that might be a little easier to take away. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see what they do. I think you have to try to snag one QB out of the class. You just have to every year.
Yeah. But I was going to say about Brent Pry, I think Virginia Tech fans have to be, I don't want to say happy with him, but like they had to have had some kind of conversation, right? With as close as they were. There's no way if Brent Pry did not like what happened at Virginia Tech that he would have been like, Franklin,
he would have said, don't come here, man.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think it would be a bad thing. I will be interested to see who he brings in as an offensive coordinator because the thing is, I actually think Franklin's made decent hires when it comes to that. The problem is, will he actually let them run their offenses? Because like we've not seen the same offense that we've seen in the past from Andy Koldenicki, who came in to be the offensive coordinator for Penn State. Was I guess 2 years ago now at this point. It was a little bit different at the time. So I'll be curious to see who he brings in as the offensive coordinator as well. Yeah, it's going to be a weird year for Virginia Tech because I don't know. Last year, at least, it seemed like the portal was kind of lacking in a lot of those top end names. I think just because schools were able to kind of use a lot more schools, I think, use that money to keep guys instead of going and diving into recruiting. So I'll be curious to see who actually hits the portal and if Franklin's able to kind of pull one of those big name guys away because I do think they will need at least a decent quarterback out of the portal to kind of be a competent team next year.
Is Drones he's completely out of eligibility?
I'm pretty positive he's done. The backup options are, I think it's Garrett Rangel, the Oklahoma State quarterback.
Oh, is that where he is now?
I'm fairly sure.
Pretty sure Austin was a fan of him.
Pop Watson is the other one.
Yeah.
Who's been there since he was a true freshman.
Even if Drones isn't out of eligibility, he's not necessarily I guess he's not necessarily that far off from, I guess, like a typical, or at least some of the guys that Franklin's had in the past. I mean, he's not going to want Drones to turn the ball over or make any bad throws. But
if we're talking about going to poach guys too, you know, this feels like the kind of school that could take a shot on like a Colton Joseph or, you know, just like insert other, you know, kind of high-ish end G6 guy that needs a new home. Like that could make a lot of sense. Maker feels like it makes less sense to me.
I agree, it makes less sense. I'm just saying, like, I don't want him to leave. Him or Caleb can stay at North Texas.
I think the names would be like Colton Joseph or, you know, like Alonzo Barnett, but I don't think Barnett would go to VT. I think he'd just follow wherever Chesney goes personally. But
yeah, that feels like it makes some sense. So yeah, I think that part's going to be interesting to watch as well. I think that's kind of all the angles you can really cover that from until we get more information out of them. So, you know, stay tuned for that. I know we were actually talking behind the scenes here. We want to talk about maybe Kiffin, maybe Summerall. It sounds like maybe Summerall is trending to be the Auburn coach, but I actually want to talk about Kenny Dillingham.
Sure.
And
Let's
Sam Levitt, apparently. Pete Nakos reported yesterday. I haven't seen if there were like a lot of follow-up reports from others that they're at a high level, kind of him and his family kind of looking at the portal to see what else is going to be out there for them. And then Dillingham is doing the classic, you know, dodge on the questions about what his plans are for next year. Some rumors that LSU is involved with that. Also rumors, obviously, with them and Lane Kiffin and others as well. What are we? Chris, I mean, do you think that there's smoke? There's smoke there. You think there's fire as well with Dillingham?
Why? The thing that makes it to me think that like Dillingham could leave is that the Levitt piece. I don't know why Levitt would be shopping around after the success and the kind of the grooming that Dillingham has helped with. So to me, it's like, why would Levitt look around? I'm sure he's getting paid enough at Arizona State. And
if you've ever interacted with his family, it makes a little bit of sense. Just throwing it out there.
I have not at all. So maybe that's the reason why. But to me,
Matt
it's like,
knows
well,
what I'm talking about.
Wouldn't you?
I've had nothing but great interactions with Sam Levitt and his family. So
they think very highly of him. It just doesn't.
Yes, they do.
Like
yes.
Fair. But to me, it's like if you're getting paid well and if you had a ton of success with your head coach, like why not just stay another year? I mean, Dillingham is a very likable guy, but I mean, money is money. So sometimes people just do it just to do it. So to me, I think Dillingham's like very possible to leave Arizona State. I feel like his quotes are a little bit better than the suit, like dodgy, but I don't trust any head coach when it comes to this type of season. Like people are just going to lie straight through their teeth just to make sure that nothing gets sacrificed or hurt in the process.
It's his alma mater, though, Chris.
It is, yeah.
Well, money talks as well. I mean, he's a young guy. I'm sure he's competitive and wants to be at the highest stage, right? So strike while the iron's hot. I mean, he could stink at Arizona State for 2 more years or for 2-3 years and then get fired, right? Like, go get your money, go get your prestige while you can.
Yeah, I mean, look, as much as I love Kenny Dillingham and Arizona State Sun Devils is my adopted school there, all because of Sam Levitt and Kenny Dillingham. If I were him, if LSU or I'm trying to think of who else, I don't know that I would take Florida. Maybe if Florida or LSU comes calling, I think you probably have to take it, even though Arizona State is your alma mater, right? I mean, like Chris said, like right now, Kenny Dillingham is probably considered as one of the best coaches or top of most of those schools' list, probably. If Arizona State sucks the next 2 years, like let's just say Levitt does transfer out, because I think it's not unfair to say their quarterback's not currently on their roster if Levitt leaves. I don't love the options behind him. If the team is not good and he's not able to get a quarterback out of the transfer portal, and then Arizona State's winning like 4 or 5 games, all of his momentum that he's built is gone. I mean, remember – what was it? This guy's, I'm trying to think of what's the way to word this. Like the perception of him was not great before he arrived at Oregon. I remember when he came into Oregon and did what he did with Bo Nix, when he took the Arizona State job, I remember people at this network, when I said, this is a great thing for Arizona State and him and Levitt are going to work out well together. Like, why? Because of his 1 year with Bo Nix at Oregon and Auburn? Yeah. Like, what he has done in those past years, like Chris is right. You got to strike while the iron's hot. I know it's going to be hard to leave your alma mater, but if LSU comes a calling, especially with the way he is able to recruit as well in the portal and as a recruiter, I think he could really like bring LSU back to dominating and getting all those kids from Louisiana to come there and could turn LSU around. So I think Dillingham, as much as I hate to say it, would be smart to probably take one of those jobs if it's offered.
If you're trying to win a championship, it's hard to stay in the Big 12 if you have an SEC team calling. Like we're about to talk playoffs and like who we think is going to make it. And there's like in my head, I'm like, wow, this is like near impossible for a second Big 12 team to get in. Like just because everybody wants the SEC and they have a lot of more time, like options and games to shine, and you have the benefit of the doubt of like a losing to a top 10 team or what have you is definitely helpful. It's just hard for a second Big 12 team in this format with these schools in the SEC and Big 10 being so good. So why would you not, if you want to win a championship, why would you stick around and where you have to win the championship every single year to get in the playoff? So
that's a good point. I mean, I think the schedule to win the Big 12 is still probably easier than the schedule to finish like third in the SEC in a lot of years, though. I mean, obviously sometimes it can break really right for you, but not. I mean, at LSU, I think you play Alabama every year. I forget what the new pods are. They have
there's going to be
though,
like 6 SEC teams with 2 losses, probably 5 or 6. If you're LSU and you're Dillingham and you're confident in yourself, you can easily be one of those teams. And in that case, you're always LSU it's hard to leave LSU out of the playoff at 10-2. So that's just, I mean, it's definitely a harder schedule, but you also have more resources and better players and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Do you?
Arkansas, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M.
Oh, I thought they play Bama every year.
So that's a pretty good. I think out of those, out of all the other teams in the SEC, I think Arkansas, Ole Miss, granted, with obviously, I'm sure we're about to talk about Lane Kiffin and Texas A&M. I think that's a pretty easy 3 I'd have if I'm LSU, if you can turn it around.
Pretty easy.
I mean, A&M was good this year, but it's not like they've been great in years prior.
I mean, I think Elko's kind of got that hum in there at this point.
Sure, and he's going to have the money behind him. But again, let's not pretend like we haven't been talking about, or I won't say we. I won't use the royal we. I'll just use myself here. I've not been talking about Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss being fraudulent up until a couple weeks ago, and that's been like, don't get me wrong, Ole Miss is a good team, but if Kenny Dillingham is able to, what he did at Arizona State is fairly remarkable. Again, if he's able to dominate recruiting in Louisiana, get all these top guys, and turn Louisiana or LSU back into what it was, you would expect them to be able to beat Arkansas, Ole Miss, and then whatever you want. If you want to pick them versus Texas A&M, if you win that every other year, you're likely in the playoffs, though, especially if you're avoiding Alabama and Georgia most of the time.
Well, I mean, you still are getting the rest of your SEC schedule, too. So let's not pretend like there also won't be years where you're playing Alabama, Georgia, Florida.
Sure, of course, yeah. But I still think a 3-loss LSU team's probably getting into the playoffs. If your losses are to Alabama, Georgia, and Texas A&M, they're probably still putting you in. As long as you don't lose to Vanderbilt and whomever else, Brian Kelly, the fraudulent coach that he was, lost to this year with LSU.
So next year's schedule is pretty nasty, if we're being honest. They have Alabama, Texas, A&M, Ole Miss, at Tennessee, and they open with Clemson.
Holy crap.
I don't know about Clemson. I mean,
opening with Clemson is not ideal, but
yeah.
What governor allowed that to happen?
I don't know.
Louisiana one. I don't know about Texas either. I mean, Sark's probably out the door too. Supposedly, rumors say. So. No, I don't. But that's just what the rumors say. I don't know that I'm fearing Texas right now, though. I think I didn't even want to rank Texas. We'll do our top 25. I really do not want to rank them.
Texas botched the O-line 1 year. I'm not getting that carried away. There's some short-term memory stuff going on here with that, in my opinion. Same as with Indiana, which we're going to talk about when we pick the playoff here in a minute. There's some short-term memory stuff going on with Indiana right now.
But
what are you talking about?
Aren't there some pretty bad stats for Sark in big games?
Yeah, he's been horrible. Yes.
I mean, come on. I mean, you're at Texas now, and you need to be winning big games just because you have everything at this point. Sure, you botched offensive line, but you have everything else is incredible. You can't figure it out in big games.
I mean, he lost in the SEC championship last year to a really good Georgia team that, if their QB doesn't go down, probably beats, maybe goes to the national championship game last year. Yeah, that's losing a big game, but in the grand scheme of things, that's not one where you're like, they had him right there and then they just couldn't bring it home.
The sample size is bigger than one game for Sark.
It is.
How many do they have? He's
5-18 or something like that.
Hang on. He's played, since joining Texas in the SEC, he's played 10 teams ranked in the top 10. You want to guess what his record is?
2-8.
He is 2-8 with decent Texas teams. Actually, both those wins came by Quinn Ewers, all you Quinn Ewers haters out there. Outside of that, his entire career, he's played, doing the math real quick, 23. You want to guess what it was? Chris,
I think it's 5-18, right?
It's 5-18. He has not been good.
If we're going to knock Franklin,
I talk about how much I love Sark all the time. That's not great.
This feels less to me like a James Franklin, glass ceiling scenario, though, and more just I honestly, if Sark was there another 20 years, let's just say Sark stays there for forever, and that's his thing now. Mm-hmm. I would expect that to kind of trend toward the middle at some point. I don't know. The Texas team he inherited was not particularly good.
Yeah, it's fair.
I don't know. I think this year if they just hadn't botched O-line, I think we're talking about it. That Texas team probably wins at least one of the games that they've lost. Honestly, if they hadn't botched O-line, they'd probably beat Ohio State week 1.
Maybe.
Well,
how many times they get stuffed on the one?
I know you're really big on that. They were stuffed on the one last year a lot too, though.
That's just what I'm saying.
They were horrible
They had a great offensive line
inside the 10-yard
line.
Stats were awful last year.
Some of that's got to come. At some point, the common denominator is Sark. We got it. Again, I love the guy. We got to blame him a little bit. He's Kirby, Nick, Saban. Fuck. Oh, my bad. Ryan Day. That's my bad.
Reset the calendar. How many days it's been since
Ryan Day. Yeah, reset the calendar. It wasn't that long. Chris has only been, Chris is a new addition to the show. He was cussing a little bit in those first couple episodes. So calendar's not that long. But
once or twice, but it was definitely not the F-bomb. Although, honestly, if you didn't,
you have to say what it was. I feel like I whispered it. You probably couldn't even hear it. I was going to say,
you probably wouldn't have necessarily recognized it.
The FCC is calling. Thanks a lot, Matt. I gotta go answer this.
I know.
Great,
I just declined HR's call. We'll deal with that after the show. Like I don't know. I think it's maybe. I think if you were saying he stays a 10 years, sure. I'm sure he wins at least a national championship. But I'm not. If I'm Kenny Dillingham again at Louisiana with everything you have behind you, I'm not scared of Texas. Was my whole point on the Texas debate.
Oh, I mean that's fair enough. Sure.
Well, that's all I said. Then why do we get?
If you're at LSU, I don't think you're scared of anybody. Presuming you're like doing your job correctly.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, even during those Saban years at Bama, one of the biggest tests they had before Kirby rolled along was LSU, pretty consistently, right? I mean, I know Dabo beat him in a national, but that ACC, it's kind of over here
now. Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
as opposed to LSU, which kind of in your backyard. I don't know. Just that's how I feel.
Do you think there's a coaching change coaching hire at LSU that would get Tristan Keys to go back? To recommit or whatever, flip?
No, because I think it's a money thing.
Yeah, it's a money thing. It's definitely got to be a money thing. Yeah.
You think that's a 1-year thing, or do you think that's go get the bag for a year, then find your next bag?
I just think that's an extremely dangerous approach to recruiting if you are actually a high-end NFL prospect coming out of high school. And obviously, we never know. There's plenty of guys that look like the part, and then they aren't. I don't judge people for trying to make money.
Have you ever interacted with his parents?
Jaden Rashad?
I've never had any interaction with Tristan Keys and his family.
I haven't. Obviously, I have not. I was just curious.
I would love it if Keys went back to LSU. I just don't think he's going to get super developed at Tennessee, but he is fairly, at least from a route running technique, very savvy right now. So maybe he'll be fine, but I think he'll stay at Tennessee. Since we're talking recruiting really quick, just going off, did you see that Dayton Raiola decommitted from Nebraska? I wonder if that means different things for Dylan.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think we have enough information. I just feel it's like just speculation on speculation. But that is an interesting discussion.
I agree. For a different show, not now. We have a lot of things we haven't covered yet.
Do we want to touch on Summerall to Auburn yet? We have nothing concrete. I don't know that we need to.
Well, he was going to go visit Florida, and then I think they canceled the visit to Florida.
They canceled it like 2 hours after the report came out. Yeah.
Do you think that was one of those like pulse checks, like float it and then see what your fan base says?
Maybe. I mean, Auburn. If that's what Auburn did too. I mean, the Auburn fans seem not happy about Jon Summerall as their option.
Yeah.
It's a realistic option, though, to be honest. Like
Auburn is just one of those programs that I think thinks that they're a little higher in the pecking order than they are.
Yep. Yeah, that's it.
No
You're
offense,
not
Auburn.
the same as an LSU or a Florida.
I mean, what are Florida fans upset about? Is it because they think they're going to get Lane Kiffin? I mean,
Florida fans want Kiffin. I think that's
of course, that's kind of
pipe dream. I don't know that they have a good plan B though.
I think they do.
I know maybe, but
I know the AD listens to the show. It's probably Jed Fish. Austin Nace speaking everything into existence.
Florida grad. Although, as we've already discussed, the show alma mater means nothing.
That doesn't mean anything, but no, that's an upgrade, I would think, right? Nothing against Washington fans. I love you guys. Have a Washington Huskies t-shirt. Florida is an upgrade.
I got a t-shirt.
I'm a fan.
Purple.
That's one of my least favorite fan bases. So
we know. I know. We know. We have enough fan bases.
They're not Liberty, but they're not trailing far behind them in the standings for me.
Yeah, that's a good call. I don't know. I mean, who would? I mean, Fish feels like one of the fits, but I don't know who else would be.
I don't think there is anyone else. I don't know.
That feels like a drop off, like that Franklin conversation we had. Like, if they don't get Kiffin, it does feel like the drop off is going to be worse than their fans want.
I do think it's fascinating that we're just not hearing a lot of NFL coordinators' names tossed around right now. And we kind of already discussed why that is a little bit, just with the nature of how the college calendar and everything works nowadays. Yeah. But there's also, I think, been a real push into, more front office type stuff in college that helps balance a lot of that load and stuff like that. It's just very interesting to me that outside of really the Oklahoma State job with Zach Robinson, who Falcons fans would drive there themselves. So, what is that worth? You don't hear any NFL coordinators discuss for any of these jobs. I just think it's very, very interesting right now. Not an in vogue path, I guess, for college football head coaches right now. Again, I'm not sure, who you would even target anyway, but.
Yeah, I think you're just too close to your end goal if you're a coordinator in the NFL. Like, why, unless you're which I don't know. If you're a coordinator in the NFL, I can't imagine you're a long love college football guy that just wants to get back into it. Like, why wouldn't you just stay in the NFL? So,
yeah, again, I mean, we've talked about this. Can't remember who. It might have been the Penn State job. When we were talking about. I think there's a defensive coordinator in the NFL.
Kelvin Shepard.
Kelvin
Shepard for LSU.
LSU. Yeah, comeback's like. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that NFL coaching is easy. No coaching job is easy. It's a lot less stress coaching in the NFL, I think, than going back to college with everything you have to deal with now with NIL, transfer portal, recruiting. I think you would just much rather stay in the NFL.
It's 365 days. NFL might be 300 days, but at least you have those 65 days of not having to deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Do we want to do personally what we think makes the playoff at this juncture, or do we want to talk players you're excited for next year? We're 36 minutes into this bad boy.
Well, I think we can have the conversation about playoff, and it's going to be pretty close. I think.
We can just do that when we talk about the playoff bracket if we want.
Okay. So then let's do the players we're excited for in 2026.
Austin, you kept your secret.
Yeah.
Cards close to the vest. It's definitely because I didn't remember to fill out that part of the sheet.
Well, we know you
do it as you guys are talking. Why don't you guys take it ahead and then
why don't you lead us off?
No. You gentlemen,
reveal your cards. Yeah,
age before beauty. Age before beauty. I forgot it. So if you guys talk, I can definitely come up with some real good ones though. Don't you worry about that.
I was gonna say Alonzo Barnett. I mentioned him earlier. I think naturally he is probably going to go to a school that has a great fit for the system because I think he just follows the coach. But he's awesome on the ground, awesome through the air. Like, this is a guy to me that would be a really fun, like a Devin D'Ampier type transfer. I just hope that he doesn't do what Devin D'Ampier does, which is go to a system that doesn't necessarily make sense, even though there's some similarities. The head coach Whittingham just has too much power there, I think. But and that worked out fairly decently until he got hurt nonstop. But I think Barnett's skill set and talent is pretty awesome. You get to see it a couple of years. Got injured, came back, and was awesome this year. So I'm curious to see where he goes. And hopefully my dynasty teams are profiting, not hurting from that transfer.
I never root for any of those G6 QBs to go up.
If he stays, that's awesome too, right? I mean, if he stays, he's at a lesser talented conference, a different coach, I would imagine, because I would imagine Chesney's like guaranteed gone. But if he stays, that's awesome too.
Yeah, I mean, if he follows Chesney, though, it could work out. I mean, we saw that work out with, I guess he didn't follow. Oh, gosh, why am I forgetting his name? Who's Indiana's head coach? Curt Cignetti. I know he didn't follow him, but he brought in Rourke, right, last year. And I mean, it worked out pretty well. Got Indiana to playoffs. So maybe that's more about, Cignetti. But I think if he followed Chesney, depending on where he goes, he could still have a very good season. He knows what he's getting out of Barnett, right?
Yeah. What opening do you think Chesney would go to that would be bad? He's not going to get an SEC job.
I don't know, because I think we've only have the first wave of stuff right now.
Do you think he gets an opening that's not like a job that's open now, or the subsequently open job?
It's tough to say, because I think we're going to get a whole new wave of openings. Golesh is going to leave. Dillingham, if he leaves, you can just insert a bunch of these guys. Summerall, I don't know that he would go to another G6. He's probably looking for a P4 job, but like all those kind of schools are going to be probably opening Colorado.
I don't know that he would go there. Isn't he kind of one of the ones that UCLA has been talking about wanting to go after? Isn't Chesney the one UCLA wants?
I think I saw that name being floated around this week, which surprised me a little bit. Just I would have thought maybe they would try to stay a little more local with how California works and it is and all that kind of stuff. But,
if we're going like,
I don't think I'd love that. Go ahead, but UCLA is a spot.
UCLA, I mean, like sleeping giant and all that crap. I don't agree with any of that. But it's just sitting in the middle of a recruiting hotbed. Like eventually you just get lucky enough that you stack a year or two on top of each other and you end up producing a pretty good team.
I don't think I'd love that for Barnett. I see what
you're saying.
Yeah. From a fantasy standpoint, I wouldn't love that for Barnett. I don't want my transfer quarterback to go somewhere where he's traveling like 5,000 miles.
Yeah.
Going to play in Madison, Wisconsin in November. Yeah, well, maybe this year I don't mind it, but Penn State, Ohio State in November, like Michigan. I would prefer to steer clear of those situations because it's not typically great.
Michigan State, did they fire their coach yet, Jonathan Fisk?
Not yet, but there are rumors that
they didn't give him the vote of approval though, right? That's just what Maryland, Wisconsin. Yeah. Is there somewhere else that's done that too, where they're like, we are not firing our coach? It's just such an interesting thing.
So. Yeah.
Coming out in November and just saying we're not firing our coach.
Which says I really like the Jonathan Smith hired in Michigan State a couple years ago.
I think that's less Jonathan Smith and more what Michigan State is right now, which is just a complete cluster. I think he'll land on his feet somewhere else and be absolutely fine.
Who is to blame for Aiden Childs being put under center every single play, though?
Jonathan Smith.
So
that's his guy, though.
To me, you don't put the super raw, athletic, high upside quarterback under center like ever. Put his back to the quarterback.
They didn't have anybody else, though.
Just put him in.
No, he's saying put him like in the gun. He's not saying like don't start him.
I'm talking about literally under center, putting back to the deep. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing. He turns the ball over way too much. Just let him stay in shotgun. It's not that hard.
Yeah. What I was going to say real quick, and we can move on, I guess, to one of my players is if we're going to go full, just like trying to move coaches everywhere. I would love if Jed Fish goes to Washington, if Jed Fish go to Florida, Chesney go to Washington.
I was going to say, do I have news for you?
Yeah, Jed Fish is at Washington. No
You're going to love this.
Mainly because I think he and Damon Williams would mesh very well. My biggest fear about Jed Fish leaving Washington is what that does to Damon Williams.
You can imagine Damon would go with him too.
Maybe.
I don't know that he would if he went with him though. Like, does he beat out Lagway for that? That's going to become the big conversation.
There's a 0% chance that you go into March with DJ Lagway and Damon Williams on your roster.
Yeah, that's not.
I agree.
0% chance.
I agree, but if you're Damon Williams, you transfer in there, and then it ends up being DJ Lagway. What do you do? Like, I don't know that he would if he went to Florida.
Well, that's what I'm saying. These conversations are already had nowadays. It's not like you show up and you're like, oh, holy crap, this dude's here too, and he's pretty good. Like.
Maybe. You never know. I don't know.
Although we do talk about sometimes these high school guys like just don't even freaking know the guys on the roster. JKS showed up to those Oregon practices and was like,
Dante Moore's here? Who's this guy? Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if these guys are as
high school kids are different than second, third year guys.
You kind of know at that point. Yeah. They're a little more worldly at that point. They've seen some stuff. Yeah.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks, my player is Houston Longstreet. And I put him on here because apparently Jaden Maava is getting odds to be drafted in the first round now. So I wonder. I did see that.
Not first round, first overall pick.
First overall odds. Yeah.
My bad. If that is going on, there's got to be something coming out right now that he might be leaning toward the NFL. I still think even if he doesn't leave, there's a shot that he started for USC. I think USC is technically in the playoff race. I think if Maava wasn't such a roller coaster ride sometimes at quarterback, they might be an even better team. I'm not saying that Houston Longstreet should have been the starter over him this year, but I think give him another year in the system as he has this year as a true freshman going into next year. I think he's just the overall better quarterback, and I think he could beat out Maava for that job, or Maava's gone. So Houston Longstreet is one of the players I'm extremely excited about to watch.
I was just going to say, you think Maava is going to transfer? I don't think there's no way he's a first round. He's not going NFL.
I don't think he transfers, but I think there's something to all of my receivers are gone, and what we replace them with. I mean, maybe they dip into the portal and pull someone cool out, but
because they've not.
I
he
mean,
has
if
not
you go
hit
from throwing to
his wide
Jacoby Lane and
receivers.
Mekhi Lemon to Nook Hines and
Yeah.
like Zach or Fair or whatever, like just
Jay Fair, yeah.
Jay Fair, thank you. Just like, good Lord, there's not even a comparison.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a weird spot because he's played well enough to not bench him, but at the same time, too, when you have Husan Longstreet, it feels like you kind of have to play him or you lose him type of thing. And so it's an interesting conundrum.
We're getting the Will Howard thing all over again.
It's going to happen everywhere. My second excited player that I'm looking at is the same situation.
Well, should we let Austin reveal one of his cards?
That's a tease, Austin.
Yeah. Go ahead, Austin. Show us one of your cards.
I'm actually really excited for Jordan Davison next year. At Oregon. I think even if that's a 1-2 with him and whoever, I think he's one of the two because he's just so much bigger and different than all the other backs on that roster that are all like 200 pounds and like kind of change of pacey. He's been really effective for them this year. He's averaging 7 yards per carry, and that's even with getting like a lot of goal line stuff and stuff. Like that's a pretty impressive mark for a guy like him. He's a bigger dude. He's just looked really, really good for them this year. I think some of the questions, can he catch passes and stuff? Maybe we'll learn some more of that stuff next year. At this level, assuming that Oregon brings back Dante Moore, it'll still be DeCorian and Dante. And a backfield full of guys that I think are probably I don't think Noah Whittington's anything special. I think all the guys behind him might technically be more talented than him. He's certainly experienced. This offense could actually, I think will actually be better in 2026 than it is in 2025. So I think, a guy like Davison and De'Ara Hill to a certain extent, but I don't think he's quite as talented as Davison. I think they're really interesting guys for next year. I just bumped Davison way up my rankings for next year, by the way, like way up. Like or yesterday, I think I did that.
He has like you mentioned, he has a specific skill set with his size that helps him. I think it was on Campus Life. Colin said that like the touchdown equity might not be there, but he's 6'2", 236. Like I think the touchdown equity is going to be.
I think that'll be fairly sticky. Might not be 12 on 120 touches or whatever, but. But
he's still going to get the goal line carries, which is what he's done as a true freshman, right? Like if they're doing it as true freshman week 1, week 2, like he's going to end up with 12 to 15 carries and also get those goal line carries. So he's an interesting player. You just wonder how much of a committee that impacts his fantasy value, like where you would take him. But he's definitely going to be productive if he scores touchdowns, which feels inevitable.
Drew says De'Ara Hill's been good as a freshman too. I agree. De'Ara Hill kind of reminds me of Donovan Edwards. I think there's a little blindness going on at times with De'Ara Hill. Obviously has time to figure it out. But there's been some times this year I've watched him like, where you going, buddy? What are you doing there? But I think that regardless, I think that's a great, 1-2 group next year for them.
So the guy I teased I'm pretty sure this is Nate's guy, Bird Ficklin at Utah. It would be pretty hard.
I fought very hard to get him in the freshman guide, so I would say that Nate and I can share him.
Okay, I didn't read the freshman guide. I don't read a whole lot, so
I'm gonna drop a second F-bomb on the show.
But he just has looked so good. As a true, he's a true freshman, right? As a true freshman, like it feels like a very profitable system for him if he stays. And I don't know how you would keep Dampier over him. This kind of feels exactly like the Maeva situation. There's a little bit of like you have to project it a little bit with the transfer, but like Avery Johnson and Will Howard, I mean, you kind of have to lean the young guy if you think he's just as good. I have a lazy comp form. Do you want to hear?
Is it Devin Dampier?
No, lazy man's comp. He's a left-handed quarterback that runs the ball a lot. Pat White, it feels like like an electric great runner, left-handed. I hate left-handed quarterbacks, but he looks good. I like him. I'm excited to see what he can do next year. That upside feels ridiculous.
I won't argue with you too much. What were you going to say, Matt? I liked him last year. I had him as a draftable freshman, even with the Dampier stuff. Thought he was a good I think he might have been like my top kind of like.
You didn't my guy him though, right? Isn't that what you guys do on the freshman guide?
No, we
We don't
can't
my
do
guy
that
anybody in the freshman guide.
You do it on the
pure analysis, buddy. We don't do any of that Devi
No
guy,
gimmicky
my guy
stuff.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
This, I know better than you. All that
Screw
other
that,
nonsense. we're a team over there on the recruiting side. I don't know that Bird Ficklin would force Dampier out though. If you know,
Has he been good enough passing to make that decision? I think
think so, but I
it's a
don't
little
think
sketchy.
he's been.
that would be my worry if I was a coaching staff and I push Dampier out. Not that Dampier is like, you know, some uber efficient, you know, whatever out there, but the Ficklin stuff does give me. If you didn't like Bird Ficklin when he still went by Jamarian, then I don't know if you're allowed to call him your guy. I'm just saying he's Jamarian Ficklin in my my rankings, my freshman rankings here. Just saying.
It's not great. The passing stats are not great. But how do you ignore 26 for 317 and 3 touchdowns and 2 starts? Like it's insane.
My second guy.
Oh wait, isn't there a guy that went to Virginia Tech last year that was kind of similar to him? Yeah, Keldon Ryan. Is he still on the team?
Maybe. I have no idea.
Well, you're talking about Virginia Tech's next quarterback. Sorry, Ryan was my next guy right after Ficklin. Just was curious.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Runner. Maybe that's your next guy. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Am I supposed to get my second guy now? I just, I want to get.
Just go ahead.
Oh, okay, Bo Jackson. I'll just say Bo Jackson. We're running up against the clock here. I think Ohio State could be a very different. I want to say a very different offense next year, but a little bit different with losing Carnell Tate. Curious to see what that wide receiver core will look like if they can improve the offensive line. I think Bo Jackson's look like one of the best, if not the best freshman running back, probably outside of Caleb Hawkins, who's another guy I have on my list. This year, I think that Bo Jackson could really take control of that backfield. I don't love any of the players they're bringing in the recruiting class. I don't know if they go to the portal and bring anybody in either to kind of compete with him. Maybe they bring in like a Donaldson type again just to help. But I think Bo Jackson's going to be one of the most intriguing. Could legitimately jump up to be the number one running back in college football if Love. I can't imagine Love comes back, but if Love for whatever reason does come back, I think he'd be number one. But Bo Jackson's likely number one running back in C2C rankings this offseason.
From a CFF perspective, I think he's cool, but there's no way I would ever draft him high just because of the fear of what we're seeing with Ryan Day and what he does. Just like, I mean, plus the fact that they just curb stomp everybody and they don't play in the fourth quarter. So I would just be worried about committees from a CFF standpoint, but I do think he's awesome.
Do you know what the crazy thing about that is? I don't have this year's stats pulled up, but you do know that they actually run the ball more often than they pass it, right? You would not think so based on how.
At least I know in neutral game situations they do.
Yeah. And it's
they're like just like uber efficient passing. That's how they get to like 280 and 300 every single game. They're just like exactly 10 and 11 yards per attempt type stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, for a guy who, I mean, he didn't. What I don't think did he play in the first 2 games? I don't think he played in the first 2 games, right? Maybe the first 3 or 4.
Bo Jackson, yeah, he did either. If he did, he got like a snap. Like he didn't play a lot.
For a guy who didn't play in like I'm pretty sure like the first 2 to 3 games. I mean,
he did not play against Ohio State, but he was the leading rusher against Grambling, Ohio, Washington, Minnesota, Illinois. Okay, I said that to Ethan once on Balling with My Bestie. Like, did you know like he's the leading rusher in all these games for Ohio State, and he did it in the fourth quarter, basically.
Gotcha.
Bought him right at the right time. It's not about time in the market. It's about timing the market, gentlemen. Come on now. That's what we're talking about here tonight. I have a really weird one. Really, really weird. Ashton Bethel Roman.
Okay. That is weird.
I figured I'd go deep shot on this one. Why not?
Is that just because all the drop passes he had in the game Saturday, or what?
I just think he's pretty interesting for them. KC leaves. They don't really have another guy there. Now, obviously, could they hop into the portal and get a guy that's better for sure? But the last 4 weeks when he's kind of stepped into a bigger role, because I think Craver, that's about when Craver got dinged up. He's averaging like over 2 yards per route run right now. Like he's been pretty effective for them. He's a pretty good athlete. We got him like 70th percentile. He's really fast. He's actually a little bit bigger than I thought he was too. For some reason, at a high school, I thought he was like a 5'9" guy. He's like 6 feet. He's interesting. I think he could be pretty productive for them next year. Another year in that offense with all those guys to marinate and a lot of Kevin Concepcion stuff to open up.
24 yards per catch is pretty crazy.
Yeah, he's been good. He's been good.
Can I make a snide comment about Texas A&M real quick? Really?
Oh.
Are you sure?
It's not at my expense. Yeah,
No,
it'd be
not
great.
at your expense. No.
You do it. Yeah, go for it.
I'll be very curious to see how he. Nah, actually, I shouldn't do it. I'll type it in the private chat. I'll pull it on. I'll pull a cover 3. I'll type it in the private chat so we can all laugh at it. And I want to say it live. Change my mind.
Okay. Pick the playoff.
Playoff.
Do we want to just go right into our bracket?
Sure. We have the graphic.
Allegedly.
Can I just say, just doing this exercise, I'm like, holy smokes. There's going to be some really pissed off fan bases because
worse than last year, I think.
Yeah. I slacked it to you guys. You did not respond, shockingly. There's a world where BYU goes 11-2 and only loses to Texas Tech, and they won't make it.
Why should they? Yeah.
I mean, if you're 11-2, their schedule was not the easiest. It wasn't the hardest, but like 11-2, and they're going to be basically they've said in the past the playoff committee does not like to ding teams for playing an extra game.
Yeah.
If they keep that game close, that would be kind of a crazy situation. The only way they would get in is if like Oklahoma doesn't get in. And like a month ago, we talked about some Big Ten teams that could contend to get in the playoff. Like Michigan could win out. There's no way they're in. Like Michigan would be 10-2. They beat Ohio State, but there's so many teams that are going to end with
USC. I think
with 2 losses.
I think USC has a better chance of Michigan to get in if they win.
They would replace
well, Michigan would have an
Oregon.
Ohio State win, right? And
USC would have an Oregon win and the win over Michigan, right? USC beat Michigan earlier.
No.
Yeah, so USC would have the win over Michigan too. So if they were to win out, I think USC
would
win
just
over Michigan.
Swap with Oregon, but like
I think Oregon would drop out in that scenario too.
Probably, yeah.
But Oklahoma is going to end likely at 10-2. There's a ton of teams going to end at 10-2. Like Notre Dame and Miami are going to be 10-2. There's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be in that like little.
I actually think that's going to be the more difficult discussion. Actually,
that's
if
like the
Notre Dame and Miami end up at 10-2, which one do you put in? Because Miami beat Notre Dame on the field. So do you go with the win that was at week 1? Do you go with the week 1 win on the field, or do you go with the team that's looked better throughout the rest of the season?
I would personally go with Notre Dame.
So
same here. Our rankings kind of lean towards like where the current state of the team is versus, but week 1 freshman quarterback, I just have no issue picking Notre Dame and over.
Well, we talked about this. I don't know if we're going to have this discussion. I didn't bump Alabama down at all this week in my rankings after losing that game. Not a single spot.
I have the rank. They're here.
Wrong
one.
Rankings, Matthew. Come on.
Wrong one. There you go.
Yeah, I didn't bump Alabama down a single spot. I kept them at 4.
I dropped them 2.
I dropped them to like 10.
I don't know why I have to drop a team at this point in the year if I just think all the teams that are below them are worse when they clearly outplayed Oklahoma. If you play that game 10 times, Alabama wins at 8.
But they only play it once.
But they lost. Yeah, what did they do on Saturday?
Yeah,
I just the end result to me means very little based on the rest of the context of that game.
But is there an added? I'm just going to contradict my earlier point a second ago. Isn't there an added plot on the data point or point on the plot here about the fact that they lost to a really awful Florida State?
That is the one thing you can point to. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to talk week 1, I think that loss at this point, anything that happened week 1 to me is almost like an entirely different, like it's so long ago for a lot of these teams. A lot of these teams are, have had injuries or, just guys get more playing time and develop a little. Just week 1 means so little to me on that data point. I just don't
have them ahead of Texas Tech or Georgia.
Yes, I have them ahead of both of them.
Oh, you do have them. See, I think Texas Tech's a wagon. I'm just not laying off of that one.
Texas Tech is interesting. I think the big problem for Texas Tech is going to be O-line when they go up against one of these big hog defensive lines. And not that I'm saying Alabama is necessarily like a big, dominant D-line, but if they go up against one of those teams, Baron Morton is very, very bad under pressure. I think that would be a significant issue for them. They have no game breaker at wide receiver to like make him look better. That's going to be Texas Tech's problem. As soon as they go up against a team, like if they had to play Oregon, It would be a huge issue for them that entire game. Those edge guys for them.
My thing with those two, just using the two teams we were just talking about, though, I think Texas Tech's D-line could cause Ty Simpson and Alabama a lot of problems too.
It could, yeah.
So,
Texas Tech, do you realize? I mean, their schedule was favorable to start.
yeah.
But do you realize how dominant their defense has been from like a?
They've been crushing. Because I've watched the past few weeks. Yeah, and that BYU game, BYU ran 9 plays, I think, on their side of the field. Like, holy crap!
They're basically like top 3 in yards per carry, yards per attempt, all that type of stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're real good.
They made Utah look silly. They made BYU look silly. Like, they're not the elite SEC teams, but I think I'm just going to hitch my wagon there, or hitch myself to that wagon and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad strategy. I did drop Mizzou out this week too, which you guys were unwilling to do.
What are you talking about? I had Mizzou dropped out as well. I had Missouri
Chris K's the one that keeping him up in the top 25. Then
there's no reason for them to be a top 25 ranked team. No reason whatsoever.
What
are their 2 wins? What are their 2 wins, Chris?
The problem is there's no Bo Perbula. That's the
exactly. That's why I have no problem dropping them out, because they have no Bo Perbula right now.
I have them 22nd. I don't know if you have Missouri against North Texas. I think what I said in my head was, if I had Missouri play North Texas, am I really picking North Texas to win? Like, am I really picking Houston or Tulane to win?
I mean, then realistically, how many G6 teams do we have ranked right now? Probably none, right? I wouldn't take any of those teams to beat any of these teams. Maybe Houston or something.
Isn't that Virginia. What you kind of did with Alabama? Like, I put Alabama at 4 because all the teams behind them wouldn't beat them.
Yeah, but they also have like actually played teams with a pulse and won. The only good team North Texas played was South Florida, and they got run off the field. I mean, to me, that's just...
it was one game, though.
I don't know. It's just tough with those schedules. You know, you play like 1 or 2 decent teams, and if you look like absolute dog crap against them, then you just don't really have that much of an argument. It just becomes tough at that point.
Missouri's just tricky because of, like I said, Perbula. That's all. He might be back, they say.
Wait, really?
I mean...
They didn't say that, did they?
Yeah, they said he's been practicing. He's been in shorts.
What?
He's been practicing. Yeah. Here's the thing.
No freaking way. What kind of Clemson voodoo doctor stuff is that? Oh, no way.
Crazy.
With North Texas's thing, I think they somewhat avenged that way. It was really bad against South Florida, but they also did beat Navy, who just beat South Florida. So, they've got that going for them.
The problem with these North Texas type teams is that they're gimmicky. Like, you're not when it comes to facing like real like SEC level teams, even Missouri with a freshman quarterback, it's not going to work. It's your point of, when this defensive line faces that offensive line, what's going to happen? And that's why I don't have a problem putting Missouri at 22 ahead of North Texas.
I don't necessarily disagree with you on that point. And my whole point has been, for the past couple of years before any of this even happened, was that the G6 now should just have their own playoff, because them getting the one, whatever spot in these playoffs is just, it's what, Austin?
That's so like infantilizing, like treating them like children, essentially.
Why?
You guys can just go off into your own special little playoff, and we'll take care of the big boy one over here.
But the point of that is, you're going to make a lot of money because people will still watch it. The competition level is going to be better for you, because I don't disagree with Chris. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. Boise State was not in any essence better than Penn State last year. They did technically have a chance to beat Penn State. It was a close game for at least a little bit. None of these G5 or G6 teams are really, I think, going to compete outside of maybe one year. You get a Cinderella run. I still don't think they win the national championship. So at what point are you doing anything to help you or the G6 by being one team that gets in? Sure, you're probably going to make decent money making it into college football playoffs. The rest of the G6 isn't. It's like, I just don't see any point in it.
I just really think the tough part on that is that any of the teams that were worth a darn as a G6 are now P4 teams. Like,
sure,
they just have all moved up. So, I mean, it's
right. Yeah, and I don't disagree, which is again why they have a chance. So if they were to do something like that, they would make, I guarantee, a lot of money. especially if they did their stuff during the week like they do with all their other stuff right now. Like you're going to make a ton because people will watch.
What are Maction ratings? And it would rate better than Maction, but like we might be overestimating how many people want to watch. I mean, who watches like the Myrtle Beach Bowl and all that other dog crap that goes on in the middle of the week? You know,
I like Matt's idea. Just generally speaking, it'll never happen. I don't hate the idea at all. I think it just should stay as it is. And I would be nice to see these other teams give. I would hate, like, it's kind of crappy that, like, if North Texas doesn't make the playoff, they're going to play in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Like, why can't they get qualified to higher bowls than what they're getting? And that would be more interesting to me, because then we get to see maybe North Texas face Missouri, right? Maybe we get to see Tulane face Vanderbilt in like the Orange Bowl or something, right? Like, give me these competitive type games in different bowl games and see what happens.
It would be nice if they got rid of some of the conference affiliation stuff, but that feels like that probably isn't going to ever happen. I
just don't like, how else would you, I guess it doesn't really matter, but how would you do it? I don't even know. How would you assign the bowls?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have the exact number here. It's not giving it to me, but it says the midweek Mid-American Conference football games get higher television ratings than weekend games is all I'm getting. This scheduling strategy known as Maction allows the MAC to gain visibility on national television networks. I do think people would turn, and they're not going to watch if it's like Oregon versus Georgia in the playoff. But again, if they do it during the week, I think people will watch. They will. Everybody wants more football. And when you classify something as a playoff, and I think, again, the G6 teams, you're talking about a North Texas versus James Madison in the second round of the G6 playoffs, people will tune in because the competition is closer than North Texas playing Miami. It's going to be a good game. There's going to be a lot of offense in those games. And anytime you classify anything as a playoff, people will tune in because there's stakes attached to it, and people will get excited by it. And again, it's going to make the whole G6 money. But again, I don't know that it'll ever happen. So,
do you want to just quickly show our bracket for this week based on the current rankings? Here's our bracket.
Nice Oregon logo.
Thank you. That's my favorite. I don't know why we do the green. Oh, that's my favorite.
Puddles. Isn't that his name?
I think so, yeah.
It's a cool name. OU, Oregon in the first round, JMU, Georgia, Notre Dame, Ole Miss, and BYU, Alabama. Tough draw for BYU.
For JMU too. What do you mean?
Which of those schools do you think, like, you're like, oh man, if the JMU had gotten someone else, they might have had a punch chance.
I think JMU is pretty good. I don't think they're like level of top 12, but I think they have some talent and some good coaching, and their defense is very strong.
If JMU got Ole Miss, I think they'd feel a little bit better than going against
Oregon or
JMU's signature game this year is a 14-point loss to Louisville. I mean, I don't know that.
That was, you can't really count that. They were doing stuff with Sluka. It was the most idiotic thing you've ever seen. And it was honestly, it was closer than a 14-point game. But they, like you said, Austin, they just don't play enough other teams to be able to say we can do this and that. You know,
it's true. Yeah, makes it a lot more difficult.
I think the one matchup I think that we all kind of differed on. We needed the tiebreaker on Notre Dame, Indiana. I like Notre Dame over Indiana. I think they have the physicality of a defense that can stop them personally.
I had to think about it for a little bit.
The only reason I took Indiana, and this is why I actually thought Pitt would possibly upset Notre Dame, is when Notre Dame plays a more high-powered offense, that defense tends to struggles a little bit, and I don't know that CJ Carr can keep up with them. And I think Mendoza and them would be able to put up enough points to beat Notre Dame. So that's why I like Indiana.
I think putting CJ Carr in a high-pressure environment would be interesting. Like that level of, I'm not sure how well he'd fare, because Carr wasn't really that good last weekend.
Yeah, he's been slacking a little bit the past couple of weeks. And I don't know this off the top of my head, but I feel like Indiana's done a really good job slowing down the run as well, which is where a lot of Notre Dame's offense comes from, obviously, and Jeremiah Love. If they're able to slow him down, I don't think you can put the game on Carr's shoulders and expect them to win.
Not this year. You know, maybe as a junior or a senior, you feel a little better about that. Yeah.
I think, what was the other one that we were?
Tech, Georgia, I think we disagreed on too. You guys both picked Tech before I was able to give my pick. But I just think Tech is a year away maybe from being able to do the both trenches thing. I just think it would be difficult for them. Not saying they couldn't beat Georgia. I don't think Georgia's some juggernaut, but
do you have size? Do you have average sizes on Texas Tech?
I don't know.
Can I ask where you're getting the size disadvantage? Is it just strictly because it's Georgia?
I'm not saying size. I'm just saying talent. I just don't think Texas Tech's
Gotcha.
offensive line is that talented right now. I know they've got some high-rated recruits coming in the next year or two on the O-line, and they fixed the D-line with some of those edge guys this year in the portal, but the O-line is just harder to fix. They haven't really played a dominant D-line at all this year. I just think that would be the struggle for them. And I just think if you can stop their run game with 4, maybe 5, I think Texas Tech's in some pretty serious trouble.
I mean, I went back and forth on that one. I picked Tech just because, again, I think that defense will be able to do something against Stockton and slow them down. I just don't think the Georgia defense is quite what it was. I do have some fear about that offensive line and just Baron Morton, right? Like, I mean, he's so injury prone. If he gets hurt, they don't have
It's Mitch Griffith's time.
Yeah, like they don't have anybody back there.
He looked incredible that game that he came in, by the way. I think like statistically his numbers were insane. Georgia to me is weird because I'm biased because I live here and I want them to lose just because. But also because like I watch them, I'm not impressed by them, and they continue to win.
I thought they were really impressive last weekend, and they've been getting better as the year goes on.
I fell asleep at halftime. I was way too tired to watch.
They dominated that Texas game. Do not let the 14-10 third quarter ending fool you. They dominated that game. I remember talking to, I think me and Austin were sitting backstage before we went live, and I was like, I guess technically if Texas scores here, they're in this game, but like it was not close at all. I agree. Georgia. The problem is like Georgia, for me, this season has just been super inconsistent. I feel like they've been dominant at times and just have like a game or two where it's like you should be continually dominating, like that Florida game a couple weeks ago. You should have dominated Florida, and they didn't, and they barely won that game. So, like, I do have some concerns about their inconsistency. I would not be surprised if they were able to beat a Texas Tech team. Chris convinced me in the chat with the Texas Tech being a wagon team. I just kind of jumped on board and picked him over Georgia. But I could – that's the one, like, I disagree with you guys on Alabama versus Indiana. As much as I am not on the Ty Simpson hype train, I think Alabama would probably beat Indiana, and it would probably be an Ohio State-Alabama national championship game. I actually think the Aggies would beat Alabama too, so – I don't know. I disagree with you guys on that side of the bracket a little bit, but Georgia and Texas Tech, I think, is closer than maybe most people would give them credit for if they first saw the matchup.
Any other of the games we wanted to highlight here? I think the tough part for Oregon is trending the wrong direction right now.
Very much so.
Yeah. Injuries, man.
Yep.
I think if you are an SEC fan that wants to get as many teams in as possible, I think you're rooting against Oregon, and I think you could get it.
Maybe.
I think you
could
get it.
Depends on who Oregon. If Oregon loses to USC, I think they just get replaced by.
Yeah.
USC.
I'm not completely sold on that, but it's very possible.
I'm not sure I think that USC is that good. I'm just saying a 2-loss USC team that has wins over Michigan and Oregon probably gets in, if I had to guess.
Yeah,
why wouldn't Oklahoma get in over them?
We have Oklahoma in. What do you
I'm just saying, like,
in?
In my version of it, I don't have Oklahoma in, and I have Oregon in, and you could swap USC, and it just, I think if it's Oklahoma, there's a consideration for it. But
I mean, right now, they have 5 in our bracket, in our rankings. They have 5 teams in.
We don't have an ACC team in here.
Come on, Matt. You had one job.
I was wondering why this was
I went straight off the rankings. My bad. That's my bad. Well, they don't deserve to be in here anyway. Who are you going to put in? Georgia Tech? Get out of here. I know technically, I guess because of the rules, they would have to be in here. So I don't know what happened.
That's why
BYU wouldn't be in our scenario. It doesn't change the bracket at all other than somebody getting whacked.
It's Georgia Tech in, not BYU. It would still be, I still think, the 5 SEC teams in.
If you want to get some chaos and some real pissed off SEC fans, then BYU winning out and beating Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship game would do that.
I do think if that happened, BYU would be in.
Well, they won the Big 12 because they'd be in.
Yeah,
I think.
I think they would put Texas Tech in too. I think
you can't not put Texas Tech in at 11.
I guess an SEC team would be knocked out. But
yeah, because then you'd have Georgia Tech added into this mix.
It knocks out OU 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
OU is the fringiest team that's in right now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Obviously, like other teams can lose and change that, but I think they're pretty clearly the fringiest.
We're running late, but I did have this thought. Like, do you think there's a world where Notre Dame is left out?
I think if it gets to that scenario where it's down to Miami, Notre Dame, yes.
I think they'll get in over like BYU to me is just like the team that screams out. And obviously, if they have that scenario where they beat Texas Tech and they're like locked in, I still think it's Oklahoma, but it would be an interesting discussion.
I think they would put Texas Tech in. I think the only way is if it comes down to what we were talking about earlier, where if it comes down to if it's like a 3-team or 4-team, if you put Oklahoma, Texas Tech, Miami, Notre Dame, and there's got to get 2 of those teams into those 4 spots. I think Texas Tech takes one if they lose in the Big 12 championship. So what team goes in?
Are we talking about Miami? I think Miami has to win the ACC at this point. I think there is a 0% chance that Miami can get an at-large bid and get in unless absolute chaos unfolds ahead.
I don't think they can win the ACC, can they? They got 2 losses. There's no way. I guess if everybody else
would need pure chaos to get in.
Yeah. They need SMU, Pitt, UVA, and Georgia Tech to all lose at least 1 game, if not 2.
Well, a bunch of them played. Like Pitt plays Georgia Tech. That's going to be an elimination game right there.
Yeah.
Pitt plays Miami too. Like that could be that.
SMU has Louisville, Cal, so losable games, but I don't think UVA does. Right? UVA
they play Tech and
they play Tech in last next week, so they're probably locked in.
The Miami thing was all because of Duke, because Duke has 4 losses. It would be
but Duke only has 2 in conference. That's the thing.
Right. Because they could make it to the conference championship game and then win it, and then you would put Miami. You'd put just a random team in, not an ACC champion in.
Well, I think the champions are automatically locked in, aren't they?
Well, what was not if they're not they have to be the top 4 conference champion.
Oh, gotcha.
And that's where it gets funky. If JMU finishes higher than Duke, then they would be the 4th highest conference champion.
Yeah. Well, then there you go. See, our graphic wasn't wrong. I just had Duke winning the ACC, and they are not good enough. So JMU got in. Yeah, suck it, guys. I knew what I was doing the whole time.
What a shame.
Playing the long game. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in here tonight, guys. Apologies to Kirk Herbstreit. We ran over time tonight, so there was no chance to bring him out. We'll get him rescheduled. Make sure you're checking out everything over at campus2canton.com. From Matt, from Chris, from Austin. Good night. Good luck.